Everybody, welcome back to a special episode of Big Apple Hockey where we're doing a little bit of a playoff preview right now because, after all, when Anthony, when people talk about this and they're going to be like, oh, you talk to accountants like, oh, it's tax season. I don't have any life. Yeah, it's going to be us for at least the next week, if not longer, as one of us is predicting. I will say that because we're going to be having shows basically every single day to talk about all of our teams. I, of course, am the man that's trying to grow out my facial hair, which sometimes I doubt whether or not I should. Mark Williams. And we're a man down today, and I'm joined by, of course, the Islanders maniac, Mr. Anthony LaRocco.
It's the best time of year. NHL playoffs kick off tonight. I don't know about you, Mark, but round one is actually almost my favorite because there's every channel you turn to, there's a hockey game on. So much hockey during round one, but yeah, let's get going tonight. It's going to be exciting. Hopefully, all the games keep you on the edge of your seat, but I'm ready. Let's do it.
Anthony, I got to agree with you on that because 10 years ago, but when NBC first started this, like before that, everybody had to always go on a different channel or have the direct TV package in order to watch every round one game. Now, not the case. Now you can just flip on anything if you're out of the region and even ESPN Plus and just watch it. God help you if you have to get a Leah Hextall game. I mean, not for nothing. I'll just say less when it comes to that. But let's start it out with the A block, and we're going to start with the series that is starting tonight. It'll be the New York Islanders versus the Carolina Hurricanes. By the way, everybody, you could always check out some of the articles that I have up, playoff previews for both the Islanders and the Rangers versus the New Jersey Devils. They were on our YouTube. We'll be doing the 60-second game reviews, and Philk will be doing the final buzzer whenever he can this week. And there's a lot that we're going to be unpacking from my preview. Of course, Anthony having his thoughts. And everybody, of course, the A block is powered by SeatGeek. You want to get $20 off your first order? Use the promo code Big Apple Hockey. Great code to use. All right. So, Anthony, like I said, we're going to start off with the Carolina Hurricanes versus the New York Islanders. Game one tonight. Anthony, let me get your initial impressions of this series.
My initial impression is that, the Hurricanes, kind of like how the Devils, own the Rangers in the regular season, the Hurricanes, beat the Islanders, albeit once in the regular season. So they present a tough matchup. But I'm actually surprised. I know my little header here at the bottom says "prove people wrong," which is a mantra the Islanders used a couple of years ago. But I'm surprised about how many people actually in the media have picked the Islanders. I was listening to Dave McCarthy on NHL 6M the other day. He picked the Islanders, and he was interviewing Jason Greger, I believe he's from Sportsnet. I think he does the DFO rundown show, but he picked the Islanders as well. And reading some more articles about it, there are a lot of people that are giving the Islanders a chance, and rightfully so. The Hurricanes aren't really a high scoring team. They've been struggling to score goals. So I'm redoing my driveway and pavers here. So I got construction people here today. So the dogs are barking a lot. But a lot of people are giving the Islanders a chance here, and rightfully so. Like I was just saying, the Hurricanes haven't really scored many goals lately. They've been struggling. Svechnikov being out is a big blow for them. Mark, it's not very often when you look and you compare the Islanders to a specific team, and they have the highest score. Hold on.
All right. Well, actually, as Anthony's taking care of that, one thing. Oh, wait, he's already back. Oh, no, he's not. Okay. So, one thing I'm seeing with this is sort of mirror images of each team. Very responsible defensively. Anthony's back. Keep on going with your thoughts.
Yeah, what I was saying was it's not very often that the Islanders actually have the highest score on both teams. Brock Nelson has more points than anybody on the Hurricanes. And Svechnikov out, the Hurricanes are going to feel that. Their two leading scorers are Natchez and Aho, and then Brent Burns. After Brent Burns, I think it's Kotkaniemi with 43 points. That's just not It's just not going to cut it. So the Islanders are actually on a level playing field here with the Hurricanes when it comes to their offense. The only difference is the Hurricanes provide more points from their back end. Brent Burns is pretty prolific, so they have to watch out for him as he could be another forward at times on the ice. But I think it's going to be a close series. I think both teams really would prefer to try to win these games 2-1, 3-1. And I think it's really what's going to come down to is the team that generates more chances off the rush, because a lot of these teams don't allow many. So when you do get an opportunity to odd man rush 2-on-1, 3-and-2, you're going to have to bury the puck because both teams are going to play really, really defensive-minded hockey. So I'm really excited to get going. And, the one thing that makes me feel comfortable, I know we'll get into more specifics once you start asking some of these questions here, but the Islanders have the X factor, and he's the man that stands in between the pipes. And that's a huge, huge, huge advantage they have over the Hurricanes, who are starting Antti Ranta tonight in goal, not Freddie Anderson.
There is a lot to unpack as far as this series goes. As if you read this, once again, I'm going to point to the article that I did on there. It's referred to as a perfect storm for the Islanders. You can see there's the title of it right up there. But there are, as you were saying just now, Brock Nelson has more points than Marty Necas. Do you know who's fourth on Carolina in goals scored? And he's going to be one of my X factors later. He's my under the radar guy. It's Brady Shea. That is ridiculous. Yes. But they have the thing is there's more goal scoring spread down the Carolina lineup than it is the Islanders. So this series is a lot closer than what people think. Now, Carolina is sort of limping their way into the playoffs, and it's one of those things. I could joke about them being mirror images. They are very both defensively responsible. In Carolina's case, they're a little bit more forecheck, and that's how they keep the defense away. I mean, hell, they even have a Sebastian Aho on each team. How about that? So yeah. It's one of those things that when you're picking this series, and I'm going to get to my pick in a little bit, there's a lot of numbers that I'm just kind of sitting back and just saying, oh, I want to go this way. I really do. So let's start with this, Anthony. Who is your under the radar player that the teams need to look at?
Well, for the Islanders, you have Matt Barzal coming back. He's going to be reunited with Bo Horvat and Drizly, which Horvat and Barzal were great. We're getting off to a great start after the trade, and then Barzal got hurt. So they're gonna be a tough matchup for the Hurricanes. Then you have the Brock Nelson line's been on fire. But under the radar player for the Islanders is Zach Parise. He's been great all year for the Islanders. He has a motor that doesn't stop. And for a guy like him, come playoff time, I think he's going to raise his game even more. He has a lot of experience. And if a guy like Parise, playing on the third line can get hot and score some goals, that's really going to help the Islanders' chances of winning the series. Because we all know that the Hurricanes are going to zone in on Horvat and Nelson, those two lines. But if Parise and Pajot could generate some offense on the third line, that could be problematic for the Hurricanes.
The New York Islanders, Pierre Engvall, who I believe is also on that third line, as you were mentioning.
No, he's on the second line with Nelson and Palmieri.
My bad, because I forget where they moved him around in the lineup, and I know he had the assist on the J.G. Pajot goal last week against the Hurricanes.
Yeah.
So it's Pierre Engvall. I think Pierre Engvall is fit like a glove for the New York Islanders. Talk about an under the radar player. He was an under the radar acquisition.
He was, absolutely.
I mean, he's a salary dump, and he's perfect for this team in everything that they want to do. So why not? I mean, why not go with him? I think he's got 5 goals, which ties him with Patrick Kane. Yeah. 5 goals when he became a New York Islander. I'm not saying he's Patrick Kane by any means, but still, that's impressive, especially in his limited time with the New York Islanders. I'll give you mine for the Hurricanes, and it's Brady Shea. I mentioned him a minute ago, 18 goals from the back end. You get a defenseman that's knocking on the door for a 20-goal season. That's something to open up your eyes on. However, can you really keep that up on in the playoffs? That's going to be an interesting thing. I know when he was a New York Ranger, everybody would point out the turnovers that he would have. And the Islanders they could press him, generate a couple turnovers. The thing about him also in this season is 18 goals and 20 assists. Last year he had, I believe, 39 points, and it was more assist driven. So I just wonder whether or not it's just pucks went in and it's just the shooting percentage. Philk would always look at that and remind us about it. But who do you have for your Hurricanes under the radar guy?
For me, it's Teravainen. He only had 37 points in close to 70 games. That's simply not good enough during the regular season. But he's a guy that's going to have to help produce some goals with Svechnikov out because the Islanders are going to do their best to shut down Sebastian Aho and of course Natchez. Other than that, they're not getting that much goal support from their forwards. So if Teravainen turn up his game, that's really going to hurt the Hurricanes because, like I said, as it is right now, they haven't been scoring a lot of goals. They've been relying on Natchez, Aho, and Brent Burns for pretty much the majority of their offense. So if Teravainen can get going, that makes the Hurricanes, a much more dangerous team. So if I were a Hurricanes fan, I would hope that he could, be a big player for you guys in this round.
All right. So you alluded to this before. What is the X factor in this series to you?
It's Ilya Sorokin. If you will, he's the trump card the Islanders have pretty much on almost every team in the playoffs right now. Mark, I just realized this the other day. When you subtract out goalies who haven't met the games played requirement of 40, did you know that Ilya Sorokin's the only goalie in the top 5 in save percentage and goals against average from last year and this year? It just shows consistency. Every goalie in the top 5 in save percentage last year is not in the top 5 this year. He's the only one. He is, for my money, the best goaltender in the National Hockey League. And I think that, the Hurricanes are going to have trouble scoring on him. I think come playoff time, obviously the Islanders are going to, kind of buckle down even more defensively. And I think he's a guy that seems to have ice in his veins. I think he's going to raise his game even further. So if the Islanders can just, give him goal support and score goals consistently this series, the Hurricanes might be in trouble because, if Islanders get a lead, which they're very hard to play against when they have a lead, but if they get a lead, let's say a 2-goal lead, in the come playoff time, Sorokin just will close the door. And that could be a major issue for the Hurricanes. So, if he plays like he did in the regular season or even more so, he raises the game even more for the playoffs. That's going to be hard for the Hurricanes to overcome.
By the way, just to extend what you said before, I believe Igor Shesterkin is the only person in the top 10 other than Sorokin. You said top 5. I mean, that's funny on those statistics because I had to quickly check that. Yeah, Sorokin has been amazing this year, and he's clearly the number one goalie. I'm going to go the other direction. I'm going to say it might be the Carolina goalies because they are such a weird situation, Anthony. I don't know if my expression is doing it enough justice at the moment. Carolina has 3 goalies that have started 23 games or more. How the hell do you know who your number 1 is? Never mind your number 2 or your number 3. As you mentioned before, they're starting Antti Raanta tonight. Antti Raanta is a good goalie for maybe 1-2 games. As we saw in the Rangers series last year, he wore down as the series went on and got exposed. That was 2 things. He especially game 7, throw it out the window. He wasn't good until they were out of reach. And then they started to get him within, like he started making saves when the game was over. I can't help but look at this and say, if Carolina with them, it might not matter who's in their net, the way they play, but they got to get it together You got to come in and you got to say, that's the goalie, that's who I'm sticking with. If this ends up being a revolving door in net, then Carolina is going to have some issues. Because look at teams that run 2 goalies out there. They're not the Colorado Avalanche of last year, who I believe is the first Stanley Cup team to have six wins per goalie on their roster. It doesn't happen very often. You don't get the tandems that win. It's got to be a number one. So now the better question: what is the most crucial matchup in this series?
Well, most of the time when the Islanders play the Hurricanes, Jordan Staal is matched up against Matt Barzal. And Jordan Staal is a great shutdown center. He frustrates him, and he's hard to play against. He's big, he's rangy, smart player. But the Islanders haven't played the Hurricanes with Horvat and Barzal in the lineup at the same time. So, if Jordan Staal goes up against Matt Barzal and Bo Horvat, that's going to leave Brock Nelson with a much favorable matchup, and he's hard to handle with the way he's playing. So, I think for the most crucial matchup here is, how the Hurricanes decide how to attack Barzal, because they keep Jordan Staal on him. But then the Brock Nelson line is going to have a favorable matchup. And like they said, the way he's playing, that line has been playing, they're going to be hard to contain too. So the Hurricanes are going to try to have to pick, what they want to do there. But, I just know Jordan Staal is going to have a little bit of a harder time matching up with Barzal now that he has someone like Horvat playing with him. So I'm interested to see how that shakes out.
I'm gonna go with maybe the Aho line against the Nelson line, because if the Aho line is the one that draws the Nelson line, they better slow down. I have to smile when we say this, Anthony. The words "slow down, Brock Nelson." Who'd have thought we'd ever be saying that? But here we are. The guy has turned in now a 71-point season. He was tied with game winners. Game-winning goals. He was tied with Matthews, Robertson, and Tage Thompson. At the time I wrote the preview, it was Nate McKinnon, but then Nate McKinnon had to go and score one more game winner on Friday. Thanks, Nate. But that's where they're going to have to be. And you know what? In the bottom 6, I think the bottom 6 is a wash for both teams. They're 2 good bottom 6. I would favor the Islanders' 4th line only because continuity on that. I mean, Paul Stastny, does he really scare you for the Hurricanes, or even Derek Stepan? But you know what? Everything in this matchup points to the Islanders winning this matchup. All the numbers. There's so many things except for maybe a couple. I'll get into those in a minute, because now for the big question: the New York Islanders will win this series if.
I think the Islanders are going to win the series if Ilya Sorokin, basically wills them to do it, because I think, the Hurricanes, like I said, they play a very suffocating style of hockey. So, it's going to be hard for the Islanders to generate offense. It's also going to be hard for the Hurricanes to generate offense. But if Sorokin shuts the door, that gives the Islanders an opportunity to where they could win if they just score 1 or 2 goals. So, I think if Sorokin's at the top of his game, the Hurricanes are going to be in serious trouble, because he's going to outduel, Antti Raanta or Freddie Anderson, whoever they put in net on most nights. So I think for sure, it relies on Sorokin's shoulders.
100% agree. There's no way around it. That's basically what you say. Play defensive. Try to get try to get these guys backing up. Get the Hurricanes to make a mistake and pounce on them. And that's the way the Islanders will win the series. They have Ilya Sorokin, and Ilya Sorokin will make the big save. You don't know if the Carolina guys are going to do that. And it's so weird with that net. I have no idea what's going on in the Carolina net. There's one other team that confuses me in the league. We're going to get to that in a little bit. But Anthony, here's the other one. Carolina Hurricanes will win if.
Hurricanes are going to win this series if they could stick to their style of hockey, where they suffocate the other team. forecheck them into submission and force the Islanders to make turnovers and turn the puck over a lot, then that's going to be really difficult for the Islanders to win because, it's going to be very important that the Islanders defense gets the puck quickly and moves it up the ice to avoid that Hurricanes forecheck. Because once they get you in their zone and forecheck you, it's hard to generate any sort of momentum and generate any offense, when they're constantly in your attacking zone. So, if the Hurricanes play that style and they perfect it to the way they can, the Islanders obviously, could be facing an uphill battle.
Once again, I'm in 100% agreement on that because the Carolina Hurricanes, one of the best forechecking systems in the league, and this time it's my dog that's barking. I have no idea why. They're one of the best forechecking systems in the league, and it goes back and forth, back and forth. They can keep you smothered in your own end all the time. There's one small problem with the Hurricanes on that, though, Anthony. And that's, let me give you this exact stat. Again, I'm reading it from the article, A Perfect Storm on BigAppleHockeyPodcast.com. Since the Carolina Hurricanes lost Andrei Svechnikov on March 11th, their record is 9-8-1, and they've actually been outscored 49-51. Yikes. That is a recipe for disaster for this team. If they're a game above 500. I didn't even look how many of those wins were in regulation because the playoffs are a different animal. You got to play 5-on-5, can't go to 3-on-3 and shoot out in the playoffs. So you're a game above 500 and you won the division. They were barely holding on, and it looked like Jersey was going to overtake them at one point. So there's still one more number that I'm going to get to in a second, Anthony, because that's how much I was delving into this series. What is your prediction for this series?
I'm going to say my prediction is that the Islanders win in 7 games. I think they're both really strong defensive teams. I'll give the edge to the Hurricanes just a little bit, just because they have more high-scoring defensemen. But their offense right now with Svechnikov out makes it a much more balanced matchup between the two offenses. And then the trump card again is in goal. Ilya Sorokin is so much better than any of the options the Hurricanes have in goal. And I think that ultimately might tip the scale in the Islanders' favor here. So it's going to be a close series. I do think, the Hurricanes could very easily win in 7 as well. But I know some people just look at, Hurricanes, one of the best teams in the East. They're playing a wild card team, and it's easy to just, say, Hurricanes are going to win. But when you really break it down and you see some of the injuries that the Hurricanes have and the way they're playing and who the Islanders have in goal, I think it's much, much, much closer than people think. And that's why you see some pundits picking the Islanders. Barzal's back, and that's a huge boost. But ultimately, I think Ilya Sorokin tips the scales in the Islanders' favor.
Here's a couple from Wicked. Wicked is saying Hurricanes in 6. Gun-Toting Granny is saying Islanders in 6. And the Bearded Baker, of course, saying Islanders winning Game 7 in Raleigh. You know what? Who'd have thought that the Rangers were going to do it last year, and the Rangers blew the doors off the Hurricanes in that game. We're getting some of these other ones. Isles in 6, and of course, Core Python. You can check out some of his takes after games. He is saying Canes in 6. Going to my prediction, Anthony, there are a lot of numbers I was crunching. Oh my goodness. And I still looked at it and I went, the Islanders closed out the season 8-5-1. They were a plus 12 goal differential. Everything eye pops and says the Islanders are winning this series to me, except one number. And that's the Islanders are a game below 500 on the road. Carolina is 28-10-3. If the Islanders were a better road team, I would have said Islanders in 6, easy. I'm going Canes in 7. I've been wrong before, everybody. I predicted Canes in 7 against the Rangers, so don't worry about that. And hell, There was somebody giving me grief this week about our the Bruins are in trouble video we did last summer. So it's I mean that's the only reason why I'm going Canes in 7. I mean, Justin, if that happens, that happens for one reason, and that's because Carolina completely cannot score on Sorokin, and their net is. If that's the case, I'm wondering still how many goaltenders Carolina uses in this series, Anthony. I'm completely bewildered by it.
That depends. I think if, let's say, the Islanders go out tonight and win game 1 convincingly and Ronta doesn't fare that well, I could see them making a switch to another goalie. But I think unless something drastic happens, he's going to be the guy they go with.
But here's the thing. You look at the rest of the goaltenders. Let's just go through their statistics. I mean, Ronta's got the 2.23 goals against average and the 910 save percentage. The next one after that is Kochekov, 2.44, 909. Then it's Freddie Anderson, who has got the most playoff experience and not just losing the first round with the Maple Leafs, 2.48, 903 save percentage. And he's the one that's played the most amount of games. Who the hell do they turn to? And if they use all three, then that's even more of a disaster. Because then every goalie, when they let out a bad goal, they're going to be looking over to the bench, seeing whether or not they're going to get taken out.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is our playoff preview, and we are going to be putting this on the audio part of the Hockey Podcast Network. So we're going to be getting our DraftKings read right now. Hockey fans light the lamp this winter with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. New customers can bet just $5 pregame money line on any NHL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. If that wasn't enough excitement, you can turn small bets into bigger payouts with same-game parlays. Combine multiple bets like which team will win, how many goals will be scored, and more for your shot and an even bigger payout. Download the DraftKings Sports app now. Use promo code THPN. Bet $5 on any NHL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. Only at the DraftKings Sportsbook with code THPN. All right. So we're back again, and now to cover the other series, which is, of course, starting tomorrow night. And again, everybody, the A block is powered by SeatGeek. You want $20 off your first ticket? Use the promo code BAH. Big Apple Hockey. Not the BAH. My bad. That was a different promo code we had a while back. But Anthony, New York Rangers at New Jersey Devils, game 1 tomorrow night at 7:00, which I am so thankful that we've scheduled our staff dinner that night for the bar that I work at. It's awesome. Although I will be watching it no matter what, if it either it's on the TV in front of me or if it's on my phone. Fucking A, I'm watching that. Anthony, what's your initial impressions on this series?
It's going to be a fun one. Help kind of reinvigorate a rivalry here. In the early 90s, mid 90s, they had some good battles. I think, this series, honestly, I truly think this series can be a toss up. And I say that because, while the Devils don't have playoff experience per se, especially a lot of their younger guys, Bratt, Hughes, etc., Heishier, they are an explosive, fast team, and we saw during the regular season, the Rangers struggled against the Devils and the way they play. I believe out of the 4 meetings, I believe the Rangers only won once. I think it was in an overtime or a shootout win.
Philip Hedl, overtime winner.
Yeah. So the Devils are high octane, and they can pose problems for the Rangers defense. They got a lot of speed. Hughes pushes the play, Bratt pushes the play, and I think that, if I'm the Rangers, I don't want to make this a run and gun type of game, because we all know the Rangers can score, but the Devils can too. I think the Rangers' best path to winning this series is slowing it down and playing a real defensive, structured, defense first game. Honestly, similar similar to the Islanders. Try to lock it down and slow New Jersey through the neutral zone, because I don't think they want to get into a slugfest with New Jersey, because they can go toe to toe with them in that regard. So I think it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be close. I'm looking forward to get started tomorrow night.
Well, here's the thing. There's been so much that has happened with all these teams. And again, once again, there's a lot of numbers to crunch. Anthony, do you realize in every one of these games between these two teams, all four of them, there's been a 2-goal lead? 3 times there's been a 2-goal lead. That team that had it lost it. The Rangers had a 2-0 lead in the first game against the Devils. The Devils won 5-2. The Devils had a 2-0 lead against the Rangers. The Rangers end up winning in overtime. The Rangers have a 3-1 lead against the Devils. They lose in overtime. And then the 2-0 lead on the last game, they end up holding on to win 2-1. I think it was maybe 3-1. I forget if there was an empty netter, because I didn't bother looking that up at the moment. The other part of it is I look back on the season, Anthony, and I think the Rangers' overtime win against the Devils was possibly the most critical game of their season, because they were on a downward slide. Philk and I, we were calling for Gerard Gallant's head at the time, because you couldn't win with him. You got to replace him. And the week before they played the Devils, and I declared that they were dead. All right. Now, by the way, that's funny. AP just put this one on here. I have to just say this: Islanders in 1. So, all right. And also, before I finish this sentence, the beautiful Maria Cosenza says Islanders in 7. So, hey, babe. So, okay. So, yeah, that's better than flowers, to put it up on the broadcast. But Anthony, then that shifted to the Devils. If you remember, the Devils were on that tough slide. Where I think they went 3-6-1. They were on between the middle of December to the middle of January, and that was their most critical win. And it was, if they lost that game, I think they continue sliding. Instead, Bratt scores, Hughes scores, Severson in overtime. That's all she wrote. These two teams, this is going to be a slugfest. This is going to be an absolute slugfest.
I don't know if that's the best decision for the Rangers to make it a slugfest.
And the funny part about it is, Anthony, this is possibly the most offensive firepower the Rangers have ever had in their history.
Yes, it is.
I mean, you're talking about, you have Patrick Kane, who's former Conn Smythe Trophy winner. You have Mika Zibanejad, who had 24 points. We're going to talk more about him in the Bar Talk. Chris Kreider, 30-goal season, nearly got to 40 this year. It would have taken a little bit longer. And then you have Tarasenko, who's fit in pretty well. He's looked better. Trocheck has played a great game. Trocheck is, I think, a huge upgrade over Ryan Strome. Sorry, the people that think Ryan Strome was any good. But and then Artemi Panarin, for everybody that's going, oh no, Artemi Panarin is going to be nothing without Strome. Yeah, 90 points. So you don't need to worry about that. It's gonna depend a little bit on some of the lines we're gonna get into in a second, but and yes, a lot of you guys are making great points in the comments. I got to get off the comments because I'm starting to read too many of them. But there is a lot of there's a lot of a mirror image going back and forth at each other. The question is, the Rangers are one step ahead of where the Devils were last. The Devils are where the Rangers were last year. Thank you. It took a minute. The Rangers have a year of experience and a year of going through some trials and tribulations, especially a 3-1 deficit to the Pittsburgh Penguins, where the Penguins should have knocked the Rangers out. I know there's people that are going to say, oh, it's the Sidney Crosby hit. Yeah, well, you led 2 games, 2-0 in elimination, and you couldn't finish the job. Who's that on? So, Anthony, let's start with this. Who is your under-the-radar player?
For the Devils, it's Andre Palat. Palat's a guy that has the experience. He has the rings. I think the Devils, the younger guys, are going to lean on him for experience, especially during, crucial moments and just throughout the series in general. But we all know that the Devils have, Hughes, Bratt, Hischier, Sharon Govich, these guys that can all score goals. Andre Palat's going to be a key guy because, like I said, he's gritty. He's been there before. So if Palat can score some big goals too for New Jersey and kind of pull the younger players into the fight in those tense moments and help them keep their composure, that would be big for New Jersey. So I would look to him to kind of lead the way, not necessarily on the scoreboard, but kind of take all these young guys under his wing and say, hey, believe, even though you guys are young and experienced, we could beat this team. And I think he'll be important to the series for the Devils.
My guy for the Devils, we're going to start with this, is Dawson Mercer. Dawson Mercer is...
Yeah, I forgot even to mention him. That's another guy. Yeah.
He's let me get those actual numbers for you on him. Let's see. He has 55 points this year. He exceeded the 42 that he had last year. And you know exactly why that they balked when they were when San Jose was trying to get Dawson Mercer from him. And they said, no way. We're not trading Dawson Mercer for Timo Meier. Not only did they not give up Dawson Mercer, they didn't give up Alexander Holtz. They didn't give up Igor Serengovich. I mean, that's a great job by Tom Fitzgerald. I already got to praise him on that one. By the way, once again,
you mentioned Timo Meier. That's another guy I totally forgot to mention as well before. And I was talking about the Devils and their, what they could do and being high octane.
Look, I've said this numerous times. By the way, you can always check out Reboot the Rivalry, which is on BigAppleHockeyPodcast.com. I've said it a lot with that. I love me some Jesper Bratt. I love me some Timo Meier. I hate that they're going to be New Jersey Devils. Well, we're going to wait to see about Bratt because they're going to re-sign him. You have to. But they're going to be New Jersey Devils for a long time. And man, they're going to it's going to suck playing those guys. Hopefully for the New York Rangers, it's a slow development on some of the other guys, but let me get right to the New York Rangers, my under-the-radar guy. Kaapo Kakko, 17 goals this year. He started to really kind of come on. He's been okay against the Devils. I figured that he would be like ramped up a little bit to play the Devils, but Kakko against the Devils is he's been like 16 points over his last 2 months, I think it's 16 because I added the 16 point. I almost said 17. He only has 6 points against Jersey in his career, but Kakko's a guy that could change around a series. Look at Game 5 against the Pittsburgh Penguins when he's holding on to that puck seemingly forever, and the Penguins can't get it away from him. If that's the guy that shows up and that's the kid line that shows up, the Devils are going to have some trouble matching up against them because the Eric Hall line isn't going to cut it.
So my under the radar player for the Rangers is another kid. You pick Kakko, and we're going Lafreniere. Lafreniere and that whole kid line, honestly the best hockey they've played in their young career so far were last playoffs, in my opinion. They were good. And I think Lafreniere needs to lead the charge against the Devils here because, the Devils are going to, Hischier is going to try to, because while he could score, Hischier is a pretty good defensive player too. So, he's going to match up with Panarin. They have a lot of guys, Zibanejad, to worry about, Kreider, Kane, Tarasenko. If Lafreniere could get going, that's just another guy scoring. That could be really problematic for the Devils. So if there's ever a time where Lafreniere wants to increase his value even more as he, heads into the summer as a restricted free agent, a big playoff could, help get him a couple more coins in his next paycheck. But, if he can get going and that whole kid line in general, that could, like I said, that could be pretty problematic for the Devils.
Now, let's move on to the X factors in this series. What is your X factor?
My X factor is not really essentially one player, but Adam Fox versus Dougie Hamilton. Both high-scoring defensemen. I believe Dougie Hamilton had 73 points. Adam Fox, I'm sure, I don't know a specific number, but probably somewhere in that area. I think, they're guys who clearly, as evident as just say, could put up points, but also, defend fairly well. So I think whichever one of those defensemen can kind of outplay the other doesn't necessarily mean his team's going to win if he does, but I think that would really help in going a long way to getting the leg up in the series in the end and moving on to the second round. But I'm curious to see if both those guys could still produce at a pretty high level in the playoffs. Like I said, they're both very important members of their team offensively, but defensively as well.
My X factor is going to be the goaltending, and it's going to be specifically in the Devils' end. After putting up a great month of January, Vitek Vanacek went through February and March with a sub 900 goals save percentage. I mean, when everybody has a sub 900 goals against, so it's hard to get above that. But he did kind of rebound a little bit and get back. The month of April really wasn't all that kind to him, but he still was better than that. Now, in that bad run I was just talking about, one of them was giving up one goal to the Rangers and beating them. If Vanacek can keep that up, the Devils could win this series very easily, because you know what you're going to get out of Shesterkin. And Shesterkin's been ramping it up. He's been over a 930 save percentage since March 2nd. He's been fantastic with that. And it's going to be which goalie can make the big save, especially if this goes to an overtime. And that's what is going to be interesting to see. And you brought up Palat before for the under the radar guys, because Palat scored the biggest goal of the Eastern Conference Finals last year, because once he got Tampa on the board, they ended up winning 4 straight. Shesterkin this time around, I've been kind of wondering if his motivation has been, I'll save it for the playoffs. So we'll see. We'll see about that. Because Anthony, hopefully the dogs have stopped barking by now. What we're going to go into, what is the most crucial matchup of this series?
Hold on.
All right. Well, I mean, there's going to be a lot of critical matchups. Obviously, I think you're going to see a lot of the Hischier line versus the Zibanejad line, maybe even Trocheck versus Zibanejad might go up against Jack Hughes instead, and they might try to wear them down. There's a lot of good matchups. Let me see what you guys think. What do you guys think is going to be a critical matchup before I get Anthony back? Yeah, they play tomorrow night. All right, we got Anthony back right now. So, Anthony, what is the most crucial matchup in this series?
I think it's whether or not Nico Hischier and Eric Hall or whoever they put can contain the Artemi Panarin line. I think the one thing that I'm sure the Devils probably took notes on from last playoffs, if they kind of did some pre-scouts and stuff, Artemi Panarin, as we all know, he's not the most engaged player, physically. And come playoff time, you have to fight for every square inch of ice and really make it hard. So I think the Devils are going to go after him and hit him. And when you do that to players like him, let's face it, they don't like to be hit, and sometimes they can, shy away from pucks. Last year, Chris Drury had those kind of not so kind words of Panarin's play in the playoffs. So I think the Devils are going to try to get him off his game, hit him, and make him uncomfortable to the point where, like I said, he's not really engaging when he doesn't have the puck. So whether or not Hall is the guy for that, or Hischier, or what they deploy to do that, I think that's going to be an interesting matchup to watch.
See, I don't think the Devils have the real checkers to really scare Panarin. I think the other difference between this year and last is he's on the line with Vinny Trocheck. Vinny Trocheck will stand up and protect his guy. The other thing is he's been playing with Tarasenko. Patrick Kane's on the team. There's a little bit less pressure, I think, that's on him. I think there's a little bit of pressure on Patrick Kane to perform, because after all, hey, you wanted to get to New York. Now you're in New York, so you better perform, kid. And I think there's also a little bit of a chip on his shoulder from hearing about how poor defensively he was, and that's been 8 years since the last time he's won a playoff series. But the most critical matchup I'm going to go with in this series right now, do you know, since March 2nd, which was the day before the trade deadline and when Timo Meier showed up for the Devils and when Patrick Kane showed up for the Rangers. Number 7th in the league on the power play is the New Jersey Devils. They're number 7, 25.5%. By the way, the Rangers 27.1%. Anthony, do you know what team is number 1 in the NHL in that time? The New York Rangers, 90%. If the Rangers can take the Devils out of the power play, that can filter down to their 5-on-5, especially on a young team. And the Rangers might be able to escape in this series and gain momentum. And that can really, that's sometimes specialty teams on a younger team. That's what really can affect them. Because if you start, you start gripping the stick until the point when sawdust comes out.
Yeah,
it's not a good thing. So, Anthony, here we go. The big answers. The New York Rangers will win this series if
I'm going to say if Igor Shesterkin can shut down the Devils. During the regular season, his numbers against the Devils weren't the best. 907 save percentage, 3.23 goals against. So he struggled facing the Devils, but if he could play the way he did down the stretch, and like I said, really negate a lot of these chances that their big guns get, and Jack Hughes and Hischier and Meier, I think the Rangers could win. If he's the Shesterkin that kind of played against the Devils during the regular season, it's going to be hard for the Rangers. The Devils are talented enough to kind of pull off an upset, even though they're the higher ranked team. I think if the Devils won, a lot of people probably would view it as an upset. But yeah, I think if Shesterkin could be up to the task, the Rangers will win this series.
By the way, I don't think there's going to be many upsets in the NHL, no matter what people want to clarify as an upset. Florida over the Bruins would be an upset. Seattle over Colorado would be an upset. And I think the rest of them kind of about it, especially with what's going on in Vegas. We'll get more into that in a little bit. The Rangers win this series, I think, as if their star players are their star players, and the kid line ends up doing what they did last year in that first round, because they're the X factor. If those top two lines are going up against each other, that kid line has to capitalize. You know what you're going to get out of the Goudreau, Mott, and Jimmy Vesey line. Jimmy Vesey, who was a Devil last year and is now a Ranger this year, he has had a pretty good season for a guy who's now their fourth line right wing. That's what they need him to be. They didn't need him to be a first line right wing, Gerard. So I just expect Shesterkin's going to turn in a good performance. I expect that Fox is going to turn in a good performance. And I think the Rangers stars are all going to show up here. Now, the New Jersey Devils will win this series if
this actually kind of goes to what I said about the Rangers will win. If the Devils are going to win this series, if their best players are their best players, and the Rangers and Shesterkin don't have an answer for it. Like I said, the Devils play a high octane style of hockey. The Rangers can too, but I wouldn't do it. I think the Rangers' best course of action is slowing things down and making the Devils play their style of hockey, because we all know the Devils can play run and gun. I'm not so sure the Devils are built to win 2 to 3-1 games. And that's why I'm looking ahead with this, Mark, but you get where I'm going. That's why I think if the Islanders were to win their series and the Devils were to beat the Rangers, I don't think the Devils can beat the Islanders in a playoff series, just because the Devils are young. They don't know what it takes to win a 2-1 game in the playoffs time, when like I said, you have to battle for every inch of ice. So I think the Devils are going to win this game if the Rangers, this series, if the Rangers allow them to play their run and gun style of hockey. That's all they know. That's how they win. That's how they're built.
I think the Devils can win this series if Jack Hughes explodes. He's the guy that I think out of everybody, sometimes when you get these guys, when the spotlight is finally on them, he's turned in a great season, nearly 100 points. He was on pace for it. I run out of superlatives whenever I talk about him. he explodes, the Rangers are in serious trouble. You got to keep him and everybody, just anyone on his line. If it's Maya or Brad, but I forget which one is on which line at the moment. You got to keep them away. The other thing they have to do, they got to get some garbage goals against Vitek Vanacek, because we were talking about experience. Experience matters most in net, which is one of the reasons why I kind of am not lukewarm on the Bruins winning the Stanley Cup. However, you get a couple garbage goals, goalies feel a little bit of doubt, then you're able to pop another one in before they can really center themselves. I mean, you look at Shesterkin in the first 4 games last season against the Pittsburgh Penguins. He wasn't really Shesterkin. He was all right. I actually thought he was gassed. He comes alive in game 5 after giving up the first 2 goals. Jake Gensel was doing a John Druce impression for old Ranger fans. The Druce is loose. You remember that. But it's one of those things that I think it comes, if Vanacek is good, the Rangers are in a lot of trouble. If those 2 players are good, specifically Hughes and Vanacek, then if he's putting the puck in the net and you can't put the puck in the net, how are you going to win? It's just that simple.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Oh, hey. And we also got the predictions right now from John. Philk has got he just sent these in. Philk is saying, all right, actually, I'll start with his prediction first, because we'll go to predictions, and Philk is saying,
I wanted this question. So the Islanders and Rangers can play each other in the playoffs, but unfortunately, it wouldn't be the Eastern Conference Finals. They will play each other in the next round, in round 2, if they both won their series, and that will be the first time that's happened since 1994. And if that does happen, well, then it's going to be very interesting for Mark at work. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of Islander fan friends who don't talk to their Ranger fan friends for a whole duration of the series. It's going to be real interesting. But like I said, it's not obviously no guarantee. But that, to answer your question, Mel Baster, that's the answer. Only in the next round. That's the only round they could play in.
Mel, I actually really want to request all those games off. That's what I want to do, because it's going to be like this. Hi, we're going to get for you for a drink. Oh, you guys are already fighting. That's how quickly that's going to go. And also everybody knows I'm a bit of a Rangers homer, but that's a different story. Especially when I do this podcast, I try to stay as neutral as I possibly can. But predictions: Philk is saying Rangers in 6 over the Devils. Anthony, what do you think?
My prediction is Rangers in 7. Like I said, I did say I think this could be a toss-up type series, but what's tipping the scales in the Rangers' favor is the experience, and they have obviously the better goaltender. And as I said, reference to the Islanders series, having the better goaltender in a lot of cases could be that thing that pushes your team over the edge over the other. So I think the Rangers are going to win it, but again, the Rangers cannot take the Devils lightly. They have a lot of skill. They're similar to the Rangers in that they could play that run and gun style, and we've seen it. The Rangers have had trouble with their speed. So the Rangers do their best to neutralize that. I think they can win the series. But anybody, any Ranger fan that's kind of saying, Rangers in 5 or just kind of discarding the Devils, that's a mistake. The Devils are a skilled team. Like I said, they're just not a team built for the playoffs in the sense of winning close games. So the Rangers could keep it that style. I like their chances a lot.
If the Rangers win in 5, it's because that they got some bounces, sort of like the 2008 Rangers Devils series that went, the Rangers were up 2-0. They lost in overtime in game 3. John Madden had the game winner, and then they won games 4 and 5. Now, I'm going Rangers in 6, because here's the only reason why. if there's a bad bounce, if there's an overtime game, you have to side with the fact that the Rangers have more experience from going through it last year, from having now a Conn Smythe Trophy winner on your team, and 4 Stanley Cups that were added to this roster at the trade deadline. You talk about money players in the playoffs. If Patrick Kane shows up, and I do mean shows up, he's been slowly integrating into this team. And it's funny when you say that about a guy with 12 points in the last month. You're like, oh, he's only got 12 points. Yeah, well, what do you expect him to have? 17? But in this case, I think the Rangers' depth and their goaltending is going to be the difference. And it's not saying the Devils don't have a lot of depth. And it's amazing, Anthony. You got 2 teams with 107 points or more, and one of them's going home.
Yeah.
And almost the same thing with Tampa Bay and Toronto too, which we're going to talk about in a moment, everybody. I just think it'll be state of survival. That's 100% right. That Sebastian Aho will advance to the second round. Yeah. By the way, that would be great if at least it was like the Highlander, where it was with a hockey stick. They said they could be only one.
Yeah.
So, except not decapitate him. I mean, he does have it is a hockey stick. So I do see the Rangers winning this series. It is not going to be easy by any means. And if it is in 5, it's because the Rangers got a couple extra bounces. If it's the Devils that win in 5, it's because they got a lot of extra bounces. Are the Devils ready for prime time? We're about to find out. That's the easiest way to sum that one up. So, and I got all of Phil's predictions right over here. And he also says the Islanders over Carolina in 7 as well. So Phil is saying Carolina going down. And you know what? That's been the trendy pick. Let's see whether or not that all happens. All right, everybody, we're going to go around the NHL and do some bar talk.
Shot. This is the easiest I've ever to answer.
I'm going to say beer. I can't even begin to describe.
I'm actually going to go crazy. I'm going to buy everybody around on this one. All right. Welcome back, everybody, to Big Apple Hockey Bar Talk, where we're gauging our confidence on NHL topics based on our choice of drink. And I clicked on the wrong thing. There it is. So, and wait. Yeah. And another one of Phil's opinions I'm going to get to in a minute as he just texted out a bit of news that just dropped just now. We're gauging our confidence on NHL topics based on our choice of drink. Are you so confident that you're buying everybody around? So you'll have a beer, or you're just going to have a shot. And of course, whenever we do Bar Talk, it's brought to you by Drizly.
Make it a
go to the
Drizly
liquor
night.
store. Yeah, make it a Drizly night or an afternoon. Hey, you could get anything you want from them. Have other people bring it to you. Great for parties. What were you saying, Anthony?
I might have to make it a Drizly night tonight watching the game. You know, I might need alcohol for it.
Oh, yeah.
We'll see.
Oh, I'm gonna have a dart league going on and the New York Islanders in the playoffs. Can't wait for all that. Actually, fortunately, the dart team that's there tonight, big Islander fans. By the way, everybody, you could also order these. Click the link below. Got all the Big Apple hockey hats back in stock. So I'll send them out to you. And if you haven't done it already, I always forget to promote ourselves. Make sure you're hitting the subscribe button, the like button, and the bell. Appease the YouTube gods, because we would like to do more of this for you. Yes. Corey, you're right about that. It's going to be a lot of Drizly nights if it's the Rangers Islanders in the second round. I am deathly afraid of that, to be honest with you. And as a bartender, as far as a podcast host, that's going to be great fodder for us. It's bad enough. We're probably going to be doing these streams every single day this week. If not, the big show coming Wednesday, where we're going to have all 3 of us right back. But I mean, yeah, this is going to be a hell of a week. It's great to have both these teams in the playoffs. We haven't had it in a while. So, Anthony, Mika Zibanejad last year, 24 points. He was 3rd among the non-finals players because, of course, there were 2 guys named Draisaitl and McDavid that were 1 and 2. They each had 30 and 31 points. Mika Zibanejad will be the driving force for the New York Rangers this postseason.
Yeah, I got to go round. I mean, even though they have the likes of Panarin and Kane, I mean, Mika Zibanejad has been one of arguably the best Ranger for a while now. He's got a cannon of a shot. He just produces points. He's got the size. I think he kind of really makes this boat go, if you will. So, he's going to be a lot for the Devils to handle for sure. I mean, I mentioned Dougie Hamilton before. I don't know what Devils defenseman gets matched up against him, but he's hard to handle. So, yeah, I think this is an easy round.
I'm only going a beer for one reason. And first, I want to give you this one anecdote. This is sort of an off the record thing. But last year for the Mark on the Road, I flew down to go see the Rangers play the Tampa Bay Lightning in Tampa, which was on my birthday at that. And I was running down to another friend of mine who was staying there. He was actually staying at the hotel the Rangers were at. And Mika Zibanejad walked up to the bar, had one drink, talked for about 2 minutes, and then said, "I'm sorry, I have to go prepare for the next game." And he's going to be focused. He is going to be one of the possibly one of the most focused players in the league. Look at Connor McDavid and the look on his face. That guy is screaming, "I want the cup right now." That being said, Artemi Panarin's got something to prove too. Patrick Kane has got something to prove too. You might have a lot of different guys driving the bus, and maybe they're all grabbing the wheel and all stepping on the gas. Hopefully the brake every now and again. But it's I think Zibanejad is definitely the guy that could lead it. It's just there's a lot of guys with stuff that they have to prove. And don't forget Igor Shesterkin. Igor Shesterkin, if he shows up the way he has in the last month, that could be something too. As I'm gonna just kill a little bit of time. By the way, everybody, thanks for participating so far in the poll question. Right now, 60% of you are saying absolutely not. You should never groom a playoff beard. Because I do groom my playoff beard because my my hair does not come in very well. I'm very spotty, so I end up like right. You kind of see right here. I'm doing like a little bit of a chin strap. I mean, I envy guys like Anthony and Phil that can come up with a much better beard than I can, and it's something that I wish I could grow better facial hair. That's about it on that one. Gonna kill about another couple seconds. Everybody, by the way, 13 likes so far. Make sure that you're leaving a like on us. Let's see some of the stats right here. Oh, cool. Rob, I will see you tonight. I will make sure I have a hat for you. Because Rob ordered one of the hats from our eBay link down below. Romanello is saying that it's definitely a beer, and so is Gun Toting Granny. And of course, when you talk about a guy that drives the bus, this guy drives the bus right there. So, well, actually, Romanello, it's the 2012. Oh, wait, you're saying the Stanley Cup Finals. My bad. Both teams are good, but one is a little bit better in the playoffs, and that's huge. Yeah, and that does have something to do with it because when you have the teams in the experience, and the Kings have already been through it, so it's something that it's funny because the Rangers lost that Stanley Cup by 3 overtime goals. That's it. And that's a huge difference. Me personally, it should have only been 2 because, of course, game 2, Henrik Lundqvist was run over by Dwight King. No call. Thank you, Tim Peel. Once again, that was the second time the Rangers played on my birthday. If they can ever play on my birthday, which is June 7th, I am overly happy. And if they could play on my girlfriend's birthday, which is June 8th, that would make her happy. So that would be a good thing too. Pickleball Kane has little to prove. He has 3 cups. Lou, that's somewhat true. He's heard some chatter about that. That's the reason why I'm bringing that up. And I'm going to stall a little bit more, guys, because I'm going to wait for Anthony to get back. And let's read some more of these comments. Melbester is saying, by the way, congratulations on being born a week after the New York Rangers won the Stanley Cup. I saw that in your comments below. After all, the Rangers had a player that was born when they had the Stanley Cup parade. That was Mackenzie Skapsky, who played 2 games. And I talked to somebody about that. I think it might have been Chris T in the comments a while ago. But anyway, at Big Apple Hockey, there's a chance the Bruins can play the Rangers in the Eastern Conference Finals, and the Knicks can play the Celtics in the Eastern Conference Final in this playoffs. That's insane. I miss the Yankees, Red Sox, ALCS rivalry. Yeah, I mean, especially when the Red Sox finally broke through and beat the Yankees to win the World Series in 2004, it really became a real rivalry. Because other than that, I always thought it was just the Yankees punching the down, because that's the way I always felt about that. I mean, unfortunately, it's the way I could say it. It's the Mets versus the Braves, because the Mets never seem to ever beat the Braves. What are the ticket prices? How much are box seats? That's a great question. Because who knows? Maybe Sunday might be in there. Mazzaro is saying, Gallant said experience is meaningless. We beat the Pens with all their experience. Look, he's correct about that. Now, I think he's also trying to keep it a little bit more uneven keel. Experience goes everywhere. Gerard Gallant never won a playoff series until last year. Well, as a player, different story, obviously, but it's yes, experience does have something to do with it. But again, look at it. How many of you guys play golf? If you got $5, just $5 resting on the line to hit a 6-foot putt, and some guys ice water in their veins. Some guys are like me who overread it and then end up rimming out the putt or missing completely. It's even worse. I'm not saying I don't hit some of those putts, but it's just that sometimes it happens and it doesn't. Matteau scored on my birthday. DP. That is a nice memory. That is the 27th, if I recall correctly. Everest is asking, do you think the New York Rangers are going to move Kakko if he has a bad playoff performance? I think I'd hesitate on moving all the Kakko talk and all the Lafreniere talk. These guys are bust, so you're going to move. 2 things I do have to say, and they do kind of contradict each other, which is these guys are young players. They have a player on their team that is really good that other teams gave up on, and then another team was able to invest in him and completely develop him. That's Mika Zibanejad. Because imagine if Mika Zibanejad was on the Ottawa Senators right now. You know, they're probably still sitting there going, what were we thinking with that? However, I also think Brennan Ottman coming is going to cause a little bit of pressure, but I think it's going to be like a little bit of good type of pressure. Eventually, they're going to have to figure out what to do with the kid line. He's also signed to a pretty affordable deal next year. I don't see them moving Kakko. And the Rangers supposedly are still high on Kakko. Johnny Vasquez, by the way, thank you very much for joining us. The Devils come out hot, then taper off. Rangers in 6. That's a good take, because again, that's where experience comes in, and the experience in the room helps. And also, again, Marty St. Louis 2014, and then all that team having in 2015. I mean, again, Kreider scoring that goal in Game 5 to keep them alive. Very, very big. Core is asking, Mark, you going to attend any playoff games? And the answer on that is, I hope so. The question is going to be where, because if they end up going to Carolina, I might go to Carolina. I already did the Devils a couple weeks ago. I had the Sopranos opening for the Mark on the Road. That would be good. I actually got new microphones that'll work this time whenever I try to record anything outside, new lavaliers. Roman L saying a 38-year-old Kane feels like he has something to prove, is 10,000 times better than Gauthier. I agree with that. VZ or anyone else that they had, don't sleep or disrespect 88. And that's right, too. I mean, look, he's not the fastest guy that he was anymore, but still, it's just, it's what he's going to have to do. And you know what? He's going to back check. He's going to be a little bit better at that. And if it takes the pressure off Panarin, that helps greatly to what Panarin couldn't do last year. Because there is the knock on Panarin. He's not a playoff performer. And while we're at it right now, guys, might as well look up the numbers for you. Panarin in I'll get to that in a second. Anyway, so Panarin having also his friends, that helps. Don't sleep on Vinny Trocheck. Vinny Trocheck is a hell of a player. And he's one guy that I think you're gonna find really why the Rangers went out and got him over Ryan Strome. Well, for starters, he can hit an empty net. Panarin in 20 games last season, 6 goals, 10 assists, 16 points. And let's face it, one of those goals was meaningless in game 4. But you look at, he was a point per game in Columbus. He was 2 points in 3 games. I mean, Panarin, he's a little bit hot and cold, as we saw with the Rangers last year. 16 points in 20 games is nothing to sneeze at. So I think fans need to kind of relax a little bit on him. Yeah, so core answering in that, once again, I would rather go see a playoff game at an arena that I haven't seen. Hopefully see one, let's say, in Boston, Carolina, and Colorado. That would be nice. David Wood saying we are so much better than the Pens, yet it went to 7 games when it should have been 5, probably because of their experience. Yeah, that has a lot to do with it. Also, it has a lot to do with look, I think better coaching last year. Mike Sullivan did a better job. And yes, the tide turned. And right now we got 39 of you watching. So make sure you're hitting that like button for us, as I'm still trying to stall to get to the next topic, because the next one is the Islanders. But again, it's when you see that the coaches that make better adjustments always are the ones that end up winning in the playoffs. One guy that you could say that sort of about in the opposite direction, guy that never made good adjustments, Dan Bilesman. Dan Bilesman won the 2009 Stanley Cup, and he held on for another 5 years as a Penguins coach. And they just he never really made great adjustments. They won a Stanley Cup with him, but they really couldn't get past the 3rd round ever again. And when you couldn't do it with that roster, oh geez, that roster was good, especially when they added James Neal for a while. All right, the ice is slanted towards Mike Richter right now. Yes, that was game 6, and also Mike Richter holding the fort, and also I believe it was Tom Chorsky. A shot hit his skate, and then Keenan taking the timeout. Nobody says a word on the bench. Messier gets up. They go on the power play. Drop pass to Kovalev. He scores 2-1. Messier, the backhander, to start the 3rd period. A natural hat trick at the 3rd period. That was all a great. Sequence that happened. One of the best experiences I ever had. At the time, I was 16. I just got off of work. I was listening to. Well, first off, to tell you how long ago it was, we had to get the sports updates. We didn't have a radio at Sears stockroom where I worked, and I had to run and go call Sports Phone, which was an outside line, and eventually they killed outside lines there. And it was Donald LaGreca doing the score updates. But that was great hearing 2-1. Ran home. And then hearing Howie Rose call, Messier is tied at 2. All right. We got Anthony back right now.
About that.
No, it's okay. I was killing time for us. By the way, just to cite one more, Mike Brown. Great to hear from you. Some say the Devils have a tricky style of play. How would you describe their play and how the Rangers will match up against them? I think the Rangers are going to try to slow them down. That's it. I don't think you're right on that, Anthony. I don't think you want to get into a speed game. You keep them from really getting in there, and I think maybe the Rangers might have to get a little bit more physical. So, and they could do that, especially adding Mikkola on there. Go ahead.
No, I just said I agree with what you're saying before. I said it before when we were talking about previewing the series. Devils play a high octane style offense. You don't want to get into a run and gun with them.
All right. By the way, right now, 53% of you are saying absolutely do not touch a playoff beard. 47% are saying go ahead, groom it a little bit. So, Anthony, how about you? Do you groom your playoff beard?
Yeah, I'll like clean it up, but I won't shave completely during the playoffs. That's a no-go.
All right. Getting back into this. Anthony, we know the New York Islanders centers, Bo Horvat, Brock Nelson, Pajot, and Cizikas. The Hurricane centers, Aho, Stahl, KK. All right, I'll try it. Kakaniemi and Paul Stastny right now. The Islanders' strength at center will pose problems for the Hurricanes, Mr. LaRocca.
So you forgot a center, even though he's playing the wing with Horvat. Matt Barzal is still a center. So the Islanders have Horvat, Barzal, Nelson, Pajot, Cizikas. They have five centers that they could deploy at the center ice position. Obviously, McDavid and Drizly are 1 and 2. That because of who they are, they're gonna. You say they're one of the best center groups in the league. But from 1 to 5 to have Horvat, Nelson, Cizikas, Barzal, Pajot, the Islanders are the deepest center ice team in the National Hockey League with those 5 centers. And what that will enable the Islanders to do is, especially when they're at home ice, they can put 2 shutdown guys on a line together if they wanted to. They could put Pajot and Cizikas together. Lane Lambert doesn't face-offs in the defensive zone. He'll throw Horvat out, and he'll throw Pajot out there with it just in case one of them gets thrown out. And little stuff like that, matters. And the Islanders having 5 quality NHL centers like that, that gives Lane Lambert a lot of different, mix matching with his lines and who he wants them to match up with. He could even overload it if they on a power play or they were down a goal late in the game by put Horvat, Nelson, and Barzal all out together. But for me, it's the more what he could do defensively to the Hurricanes with deploying Pajot and Cizikas together, et cetera. Horvat face-off, situations that are really important. So I think this is a round.
And let me get that round up there because I didn't get that in there. I'm actually gonna go shot on this one, Anthony. I'm gonna go way the other way. The reason why I say that is because you talk about, and I think that some of these centers, you look at some of them, Horvat and Nelson and Pajot and Cizikas, they're all very good defensive centers. But Aho and Stahl are among 2 of the best defensive centers in the league. As is, and I'm not slouching any of the Islanders guys. Aho, one of the best 2-way centers in the league. Kakaniemi, who's finally kind of grown. I think the real problem is going to be Paul Stastny, and Paul Stastny is a reliable guy. If you told me he was the 3rd-line center, I'd be happy with him. He's their 4th-line center. Okay. But I'll tell you this, this is where you're right. Using Barzal, but I think you could add him in there, but I think Barzal as a wing opens up and just gives him less responsibilities defensively, and it really just kind of lets him focus on one area of the ice and go with your game. I'm not sure if he's blocking any shots from the point or whatever, but that's going to be a different story. I like the Islanders at center. I've always liked the Islanders at center. Adding Horvat has been a great move for them. We'll see if that really, if yours is a little bit more correct than mine. Anthony, moving on to some other series around the NHL. Alex Lyon, since March 28th, 6-1-1, .943 save percentage and 187 goals against. This was a guy in his previous outing before this stretch was lit up for 6 or 7 goals by the Flyers. Anthony, Alex Lyon could keep it going for the Panthers.
Shot. No doubt he's on a really good stretch, but come playoff time, he's going to show who he really is. This is one of those runs where he's been really good, but I mean, Alex Lyon isn't a legitimate NHL starting goaltender. He's just not. So kudos on him to doing what he had to do to get the Panthers in the playoffs, but he's playing a wagon now in the Bruins in the playoffs, and I don't see him still putting up anywhere close to those kind of numbers.
It's one of the many times I'll say I wish Philk was here because he'd pull out a more obscure reference than I am. But I'm going to go with, just like Andrew Hammond did for the Ottawa Senators. So I'm going shot on this one. There's so many of these guys that have done this before. They're a goalie, they get hot, and then they make it through the playoffs. Bruins might knock him out of the series within the first 2 games. I mean, Matthew Tkachuk has got his work cut out for him. This is his chance to prove whether or not he's a playoff player. So, and as by the way, as D. Lee is saying, the Hurricanes are loaded with centers. Natchez and Drury are drafted as centers. Natchez also plays center at times. Stepan also plays centers. And we know Stepan is money from the New York Rangers days. I'm going to save that one, Melbuster, for later. So let's get back to, and let's save that one. Well, I saved a couple of the comments for later, so we get it for the Q&A, guys. Because everybody get ready. You're going to want to participate in this question. The Toronto Maple Leafs haven't won a playoff series since 2004 when they beat the Ottawa Senators. A matter of fact, the last guy to be active for that playoff series, from that playoff series, Anthony, was who? 2004 Leafs as Senators. He retired last year.
Chara?
Zdeno Chara. All right. By the way, Zdeno Chara, also the last player that was active for Wayne Gretzky's final goal. So, Toronto will finally get over the playoff hump.
So I picked the Lightning to win, so I'm not going to say shot because obviously I could be wrong clearly, and Toronto could win. But I'm going to go beer. I just stand by my prediction. I think Tampa Bay, even though you can clearly tell, this year Toronto was the better team during the regular season. The Lightning look like, a tired team at times, and rightfully so. They went to the finals 3 years in a row. They've played a shit ton of hockey over that time. But they're experienced. They know what it takes come playoff time. And they still got a pretty damn good roster. Stamkos and Braden Point, Kucherov. Hedman's had a down year, but he's still Victor Hedman. Ross Colton's scrappy. He's a good hockey player. And then, Mark, the biggest card of them all. I mean, you have the biggest money goalie in the NHL in Vasilevsky in net. So, Toronto's kind of seeming like they've kind of maybe finally could do it this year with the acquisitions they made and how they were the better team during the regular season. But I still think Tampa Bay gets a job done in Toronto once again, losing the first round. And if that happens, heads are going to roll in Toronto.
Oh, my Lord. There's so much to talk about with this that it's amazing. Because if that happens, Shanahan's out. Dubas is out. O'Keefe, Sheldon Keefe. Sorry to my friend Connor O'Keefe I kind of throw that in there sometimes. But Philk has said that the Lightning is going to win in 7 in this. So you're saying the Lightning, and would you say 6, Anthony? Did you say 6?
I think I said 7. Did I have to look again? I thought I said 7.
Yeah, it's okay. I did the Stanley Cup bracket. I got Toronto in 7 this one. I think they finally win a playoff series. Now, unfortunately, by the way, as you clarified it, I could be wrong. So I'm only going beer myself. There it goes. My serve is a little bit slow. So there it goes. I look at this series. Toronto. Remember when we were going through our group chat in the trade deadline, and it just felt like Toronto's going for it. Toronto's going for it. Toronto's going to make it. I still don't think they're going to win the cup, but a one series win against Tampa, who lost their trade deadline acquisition of Tanner Jeannot. And Tampa easily do it. You're right about that. Money goaltender. Eliminating Andre Vasilevsky has become really difficult since the sweep to Columbus. I don't know. It's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough, but I think Toronto finally gets it done this year. I think they fall to Boston right away the next series, but that's a different story. It's like winning the play-in game in the NCAA tournament. Yay, we're the 16th best team in this bracket. Good, you get UConn. All right. Anthony, moving on to Minnesota. Kirill Kaprizov year. 8 points in 6 games. Kirill Kaprizov will continue to be over a point per game playoff player.
Round. I mean, this guy is an electric player. He brings you out of his seat. He just oozes skill. He was just getting back from that injury. So he's hopefully got his legs beneath him now heading into the playoffs. As he caught a couple of games at the end of the regular season. So I really like him a lot. I think he would drive the Minnesota Wild. Adding him back increases their chances to win for sure. But I mean, win or lose, I still think he could be over a point per game player. He's that good.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy around on this one too. His first playoff experience was last year versus the St. Louis Blues, and he tore them a new one. I think every time he touched the puck, it seemed to go in the net. How Minnesota lost that series, it's a little bit beyond me. But again, it's one of those things. Sometimes it just happens. But Kirill Kaprizov is definitely going to be a guy that's going to be worth the price of admission, and he's going to continue to perform. By the way, again, just saying, Philk is predicting that Dallas wins that series in 6 games. All right, Anthony, Laurent Brossoit is going to play game 1 of Vegas tonight, or for Vegas. The mystery in net will send Vegas home early after round 1.
Shot. Regardless, Vegas has been getting by with their, Laurent Brossoits and Quicks and Thompsons of the world, all year. So I don't think it's going to matter. I mean, Winnipeg's a good team, but Vegas is, the best team in the West, at least during the regular season. So, it's a shot. I think Vegas is winning.
I'm going to go beer. I'm a big believer in the goaltenders. You got to have goalies that are going to succeed. And if the goalie has no confidence, then no way. This would be one of those Cinderella stories I talk about all the time. I always say this: goalies that start opening day and then play a career high of games and then go on from there, they don't win Stanley Cups because mentally speaking, they're just not ready for it. When you get young goalies that start in the playoffs, like Cam Ward, Ken Dryden, Matt Murray, they don't even know what they're in for. They can go on and go win a cup because usually they're good enough to get through that and not even think about it. I don't know if Brossoit would fit that build. He's been in net for years. He's been a backup with Winnipeg, and I'm not convinced that he's going to end up being as good of a goalie. But you know what? There's going to be it's going to be tough for Vegas. But if they get through this first round with their goaltending, that's unbelievable. Because I don't know who their goalie is. I know Connor Hellebuck's on the other side. And I know Winnipeg was definitely trying not to make the playoffs at one point, which, by the way, just going to the notes. Yep. Philk says Vegas in 4. What do you have this series as? Oh, you're muted.
I think I picked Vegas in 6. I got to see what I.
Oh, I'm back on it. Yep, you have Vegas in 6.
Yeah.
I went to Vegas in 7 because of the goaltending. I want to make sure. I want to believe. I want to believe the poster from uh David Duchovny's office in the X-Files. I forgot what Mulder's name was. I think it's Fox Mulder. There we go.
I wouldn't know.
Took a minute. Well, it took a minute to get me there, so that's about it. Anthony, Cale Makar hasn't played a game since April Fool's Day, and he's hoping to be back for game 1 versus the Seattle Kraken. Minus Cale Makar, the Avs are in trouble versus the Kraken.
Shot. I think the Avalanche. I think this could be. If I had to pick one sweep, I would think this is it. Makar or no Makar, the Avalanche are gonna handle the Kraken easily. The Kraken's goaltenders weren't exactly lighting up the stat sheet with these good save percentages during the regular season. At one point, I mean, I think they were both under 9, and you think to yourself, how are they winning games? So the Kraken aren't a bad team. They're just running into a buzzsaw in the Avalanche, and even though Makar does so much things for the Avalanche, transport the puck, put up points, defend. I think even without him, the Avalanche are going to cruise through this series. So to insinuate they're like they could lose because Makar isn't playing is not even close to being accurate. So it's a shot.
By the way, Phil also picks Colorado in 4. I make sure, Anthony, I do not make it a business to say at all sweeps anymore. Ever since I predicted 2 sweeps, I think the last couple of years, I think it was Carolina versus Nashville. I predicted a sweep, and I predicted Florida over Washington was going to be a sweep. I stopped doing that. However, this one, I still say Colorado in 5. So it's got to be a shot from me to say, this ain't going to be a walk in the park. Sorry, it's right over your face again. But Colorado is definitely going to be a tough out for the Kraken. Again, the Kraken's goaltending, they're going to have to rely on Grubauer because I think Martin Jones is injured. And I don't see it. I just don't. It's good for the Kraken. Hey, you know what? Now you guys got playoff experience. Speaking about a guy that I mentioned before that looks like he's just got Stanley Cups in his eyes. He's just focused on it more than anything. The Edmonton Oilers concluded their season 14-0-1. The LA Kings 9-5-1. The Edmonton Oilers will make short work of the LA Kings.
Beer. The Kings. I gotta say, I would take Korpisalo over Skinner and Jack Campbell. I don't like either of them. So that's really the Oilers' only downfall is in net. The addition of Matthias Ekholm has made him better defensively, but they're still not quite, I would say, a good defensive team. So the Kings have that working in their favor. But just McDavid and Draisaitl, even Nugent Hopkins, they're also good this year. It would take a Herculean effort from Korpisalo and the Kings defense to beat them. But again, when you have suspect D and shoddy goaltending as the Oilers do, that could keep the Kings in it because the Kings, have some decent pieces. Kevin Fiala's out, but if he comes back, that would help them a lot. But even still, Kopitar and Kempe, they got some good pieces. They're a good structured team as well. You don't get 104 points or whatever they had in the regular season with luck. So they're a good team. Just the Oilers are better because of the cast of ridiculous generational players they have. So I don't think it will be a sweep, but I also don't think the Kings are going to win. So I'll say beer.
It was very nice of the Dogs to let you finish that prediction before starting the bark. So good boys. And the answer I have to say is, I'm going to go beer on that. And I actually have Edmonton in 5. One of the reasons why is just they're on fire right now. Philk has been singing their praises of how well they played, that Ekholm has been the best trade deadline acquisition. I have to agree with them on it in a little bit. I think they've been right there. And you look at what McDavid's doing is incredible. But you got to also say the Kings improved since last year. Even though they're not going to have home ice advantage like they did last year, they took 7 games over Jonathan Quick, who he was losing it. He's not the goalie that he was. I don't know. I don't know whether or not that's going to be the case, but I do think Edmonton in 5. I just kind of could see it happening. I think there's a good road for Edmonton. We're going to get into that in a second. But Philk is also picking Edmonton in 5. Anthony, last week, Pittsburgh Penguins fired Brian Burke and Ron Hextall. We do have some breaking news about another organization in a second. But the Penguins' new GM can get another Stanley Cup in the Crosby era. And I'm going to start this. I'm going to go beer, Anthony, because I think if you put the right goaltender in there, maybe something can happen. Tristan Jarry is the epitome of what I don't like about my goalies. When I need a save, I don't know if I'm getting it from Tristan Jarry. That's my number one problem. What do you think?
I'm gonna go beer. I don't see the Penguins winning another cup in there, but I mean, I guess anything can happen. But their goaltending obviously isn't good. They have to solve that issue and find new goaltending in the offseason. And even though their best players were their best players this year, Malkin and Crosby, they were healthy. They played the whole season. After them, I mean, Gensel's really good, and Zucker actually had a good year too. But after that, the well kind of runs dry. So I don't see it happening anytime soon. But I'm not going to say shot because anything could happen. I just don't see it occurring. I think the Penguins, could they get back in the playoffs next year with the right moves? Yes. But I don't. But then again, once you get in, anything can happen. So I don't know. I don't know. I'd be surprised. Let's leave it at that. I'd be surprised if the Penguins won another cup in Crosby's era here.
Out of the two teams, Washington and Pittsburgh, which one do you think is closer to possibly winning a Stanley Cup?
I think they're really both the same. I mean, none of them really have great prospect pools. With one player in particular, like knocking on the door, ready to come up. I mean, their goaltending, Kemper's signed. He just signed. He's kind of meh. A lot of their better players are aging, like Kuznetsov and Ovechkin, Oshie. Honestly, I think they're in the same boat. I really do. I really think they're in the same boat. They're at that line where, okay, do we just put what is that, quick seal on it to stop the leak and just kind of forward, or do you kind of, rebuild and retool? But it's tough for me to say which one's closer because I really think they're about the same. I don't see any of them winning a cup in the next, 2 years, 3 years.
Yeah, I kind of got to agree with that, Anthony, and I kind of wonder about it myself. I do think you can possibly get some, flex seal, like you said, or a quick seal, and throw it on there, and maybe the Penguins are still good enough. I don't see it. Not many guys get back to the Stanley Cup Finals or anything. And even though I don't doubt Sidney Crosby, that's the thing. I don't doubt Sidney Crosby. The last time I threw dirt on that organization was 2015. Yeah, I think I was wrong a little bit. So let's move on. We got one more in the bar talk, and then we got to start updating on some other stuff that we're hearing around the NHL. Women's hockey. Team USA beat Team Canada for gold at the IHF last night. And the women's rivalry between USA and Canada is among one of the best in hockey.
I mean, are you lumping this in with like,
NHL,
rivalries like
everything?
You get Rangers, Islanders, you got Oilers, Flames, you got Penguins, Rangers. I mean, I think
How
if you
about
include
this?
the
How about this,
NHL,
Anthony?
there's just
How
too
should I
much.
rephrase this? Phil would make me rephrase this right now.
I think maybe you would say one of hockey's most exciting rivalries, or I don't know. I mean, yeah, they got a great rivalry, but I don't know if you could compare it to when you lump it in with NHL rivalries too and whatnot. Well,
How about
I'll just put
this?
it this way. Yeah, they
How about this? It changed
be
top
it.
5 to international.
Yeah, then yes,
There we go.
beer.
All
But then
right.
again, you know what? It's different. They do rivalry, but like in women's hockey, it's because a lot of the other countries aren't nearly as good as USA and Canada. So it's basically just, I mean, the Finns occasionally, but it's just usually always them, which obviously can make the rivalry stronger. But it also says about the parity of the rest of the other countries. If so, it's different than comparing, I would say, it to NHL rivalries. It's almost really impossible to do so. But no, it's exciting hockey. I watched it before. It definitely keeps your attention. They play hard. I truthfully enjoy watching it. So yeah, they got a great rivalry, but I can't really necessarily put it in the same category as some like NHL rivalries because it's a different game. Olympics, NHL, it's totally different.
Yeah, I know it's a little bit different. And yeah, I was just trying to get this on a topic so that way we could talk about it. But I do have to say, it's becoming must-see TV every time the United States women play, or the Canadian women. So yeah, I'm actually going to buy around on this one because it's been like that for a while. I mean, after all, 2014, that was a great gold medal game, and then 2018 was phenomenal. It's something to watch every single time that they're on, and it's good that other organizations are starting to get into that. So it's got to grow the game, get more popularity. Hockey's for everyone. We always say this. So absolutely, just this is a round for me. I mean, and I like some of the players. Obviously, Hillary Knight, possibly one of the best American players of all time. And I don't think Kayleen Wickenheiser is there anymore, but obviously, there's a lot of good women players, and I still love it whenever one of my friends asks me, is like, "How do you think we do against USA women as a men's beer league team?" I look at them and go, "Yeah, we wouldn't touch the puck," because you're telling me that. Now, on the other hand, if you're telling me the under 18 team versus the women's team, that's a different story. But they also there's not much difference in the game except for hitting. So, all right, everybody. Once again, thanks for watching Big Apple Hockey's Bar Talk. Yeah, we had a little bit of distractions throughout the entire time, but it's always great whenever we're doing this. As a matter of fact, one of the distractions that I saw was that I accidentally put on the clicker. Islanders clinched tonight. Oops, they already did because they're in the playoffs. So I'm able to put this one up without I haven't been able to use this today, but now it's oh no, Mark messed up. All right. Let me get to some of your comments as well. Also, we have sort of breaking news that we were talking about, we alluded to earlier, that the Calgary Flames parted ways with Brad Treliving. I'm going to ask Anthony on his thoughts on that. I actually thought Brad Treliving did a great job in spite of what he had to deal with last off season. If you want to argue about the trade deadline, that's a different story. It's also what's going to happen really with what are you going to do with Daryl Sutter? They signed him to an extension. That's going to be tricky to say the least when that comes along. So we're going to take some of your questions and your comments. I already cited a couple over here. Yeah, Sean, you missed the big part, but don't worry, you can always go back on that. The Czech women's team has been pretty good. Young player, forgot her name. She's been touted as generational. She's 14, playing with the Czech adult team. Wow, that's pretty good. D is saying, I actually found myself watching a lot of women's hockey on Hulu this year. My daughter plays here in North Carolina. I would love to see them, Raleigh get a women's team. That would be great. Shefra, hey, great seeing you. Haven't seen you in a little while. So saying, be ready for the Trouba train. Well, this is where Jacob Trouba makes his money. As after all, nobody had more hits and more block shots in the postseason than Jacob Trouba last year. So that is where he's going to be big. And the Bearded Baker, if you haven't seen him, if you haven't been to his place in Brooklyn, please go there. He is saying Jets in 6. And that could be there. Could be there. Yeah. Yeah, we were just saying that it's there's a lot of the Braintree Living. I mean, I can't believe that they, as Phil has texted us to say the Flames are stupid for getting rid of this guy. I would love to get his take on that. Scheduling hasn't been our best strength this weekend, but we're gonna have everybody all together Wednesday for a big show right before the Islanders playoff game. So it's gonna be a fast show. That's what we're gonna have to do. But not really getting too far into what the playoffs are. And Anthony is working on something to share on his screen. We're going to get to that in a second. Once again, everybody, before we even get too far with that, just make sure you're checking out BigAppleHockeyPodcast.com. I have my predictions for both series, the Rangers and the Islanders. I compared this one to reboots. So there you go. And yeah, you think everybody's picking the Boston Bruins in that series? Wow. And a lot of people are picking the Maple Leafs. Not a lot of faith, so who knows? I mean, I don't exactly understand the series MVP part, but whatever. Oh, Dave Pagnotta, our friend of the show, saying in 6. A lot of people are on the Islanders train. See, one thing to mention, we're talking about Marty Necas. Marty Necas only has 1 goal against the Islanders all season. Aho had a hat trick in the January game that really kind of skewed the numbers for him. Matt Barzal is going to be the interesting one. Ilya Sorokin is still going to be series MVP. Here we go, everybody. Wow. Can you split that a little bit more evenly? A lot of people predicting. Now, the Rangers in 5 is an interesting one. I guess that's saying that Patrick Kane is going to explode. Wow. That is a good one. So right now we have Control Room Anthony going on. Let's go to the Central. Yeah, that's not a surprise. I think it's daring to pick a sweep, but a lot of people are saying it's definitely going to be a sweep. And Mikko Rantanen has really come on this year. That's a little bit of a surprise. Ryan Hartman, series MVP, but I think Jake Ottinger is going to be the X factor in this series. It's amazing. Marc-Andre Fleury's had a renaissance in his career, but no, probably not going to do that. A lot of people are still saying Vegas. And even though Gaffar, I'm like him and Nichols right there. I'm predicting Vegas in 7. It's gonna take them some work, but I think they're gonna do that. And Oilers. There's a the Oilers in LA in 7. Thank you, Anthony. LA in 7 and Mikey Anderson, the series MVP. Okay. That's where we're going to go with some of the experts that are right there. So that's interesting. Let me share you guys my bracket that I did. This is my own personal bracket. The bracket of Mark Williams does not represent all of Big Apple hockey. I was hoping to actually do a bracket with everybody today. Phil did one last year, but instead I will be sharing this with you guys because the way that I looked at it, Colorado is just going to roll over Seattle. I think I said 6 games. No, I said 5. Dallas in 6 over Minnesota because Minnesota still has got some talent. And then I think Vegas is going to take at least 6. Winnipeg's going to give them a good fight. Edmonton is going to roll. Boston, I think they're going to have a little bit of trouble with the Panthers. I don't think it's going to be as easy as what they think. Linus Ullmark is still yet to get his first playoff win. When you're tied with me, that is not good, and I'm not in the NHL. Toronto, as I said before, in 7. Carolina in 7. The Rangers in 6. Now, here's where it gets down to it. I think Carolina runs into problems with the Rangers when it gets to number 3. And yes, I went with the homer pick for the Eastern Conference Finals because I don't believe in Linus Ullmark. If you're telling me the Rangers went against Tampa Bay again, I'd be a little bit more scared. And I think these two teams, the Rangers and the Oilers, they're going to take the next step. They're both in the conference finals last year. I scoffed at that idea with the Oilers. I don't scoff at it anymore. Now, going to where you see the top bracket over here, the Central, I think the Pete DeBoer effect is going to be in full swing. I think he's going to get that team to the conference finals, and I think they're going to be a real tough out. You see it with a lot of Pete DeBoer teams. They're great their first 2 years, or they really have success. And then you get to like year 3, 4, or one of those. If they don't peak and go to the Stanley Cup Finals, they fall flat on their face, like right after that. Look at San Jose, who really wasn't that good afterwards. Look at the Devils in 2013. They were terrible. And I think DeBoer is a good coach. And look at Vegas. Vegas, who struggled to win last year, and then DeBoer was out. So Cassidy is doing a great job in Vegas, but I think they're going to fall to Edmonton, which, by the way, I love the storylines in that series if that happens, because that'll be Jack Eichel versus Connor McDavid, top 2 picks of the 2015 draft. And then Edmonton versus Dallas. If Edmonton gets to the conference finals again, they're going to the Stanley Cup. It's just that simple. And then you look at these two teams, it comes down to goaltending as far as I'm concerned with that. So what do you guys think about that bracket? Me not having the Boston Bruins in there, is that suicide? You guys tell me. Let me get down to some of your comments. Yeah, Ely's saying Evander Kane is one of the guys that's changed around the Oilers. No, this is mine. It's not the Big Apple hockey bracket. If I had the other two guys right there, the other two much wiser guys than me, they would tell me, that's not the way to go with this. Because after all, I'll tell you what, Philk was on it all the way last year when it was St. Louis versus Colorado. And we were doing our bracket, and we actually changed it to St. Louis beating Colorado. And who knows if Kadri doesn't run over Jordan Binnington, accidental or on purpose. We can debate that for a while. Who knows? Because, I mean, St. Louis was giving them a run for their money. So we'll see about that. And the guys all have their different opinions. Obviously, that's why I was making sure I get all Phil's picks on there. I had all Anthony's picks. Anthony was a lot of these guys, very sensible picks. And a lot of people, as Shefra is saying, is on the New York Islanders. No, Anthony, I'll have to fill that out in a couple of minutes. I need the league number on that one. That's what we should have started this year. We should have started a league, but we're all so busy this weekend. I mean, hell, I was working a couple different nights, and the brackets don't lock for another time. So, maybe I'll see if I can start a league within the next hour for everybody here. See where we are. Because we like to be the experts, but also, unfortunately, we know that I could be wrong every now and again. Said the entire world. They pointed out that I've been wrong a lot in my life. So, all right. But yeah, Shefra, you're right. Everybody's on the Islanders. Everybody's on the Islanders. And why not? But a lot of people would kind of be surprised with that. Oh, no. I'm saying no, I'm talking we could possibly start a league bracket. So a Big Apple hockey league. So we could probably get that one done as well. Look for it. if I can get it done in the next few minutes, I'll gladly do that. So, but yeah, so this isn't the BAH bracket. This is going to be something else. All right. Then you know what the hard part is? Then the next bracket is because I always do one where the Rangers are winning the Stanley Cup. I now have to figure out how to do one where they don't. Because the Rangers honestly can go anywhere from out in the first round in 6 games, we'll say, or 7 to Stanley Cup champion. There's no limit to what they could do. And if the Devils win, it's not really an upset. Carolina's going to be a tough team to face. I do wish the Rangers face Carolina instead. That would make things a little bit easier. But do you really want to just say, I'll face Carolina and we're going to win it all? It's not often that it happens. So, yeah, I think I'll have to do that for you, Rob. I'll post it on everyone. Sean Harold is saying, if one of the kids had to go on the third line, who do you pick? It's a great question because Heedle's already re-signed. Anthony is saying Loff. Do you go with Loff's speed and his physical grit game and ship him out? Because you can see that's what he's saying. With Kako Shefra, if you send him out, keep in mind size takes longer to develop. That's why this is such a tough question. So, I don't know. That's a great question. I probably would have to say Kako because he's a year older. I think both those guys, you send them elsewhere, you're going to watch them flourish. Bigger roles, coaches that have a little bit more patience. You send Kako to say, I don't want to say Detroit. Detroit's not the right team. I'm trying to think of a team that if you sent him there, he'd probably be a lot better. It's going to be inevitable at some point, depending on what happens next season. Because let's not forget, Brennan Ottman comes in and he blows the doors off of all of them. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Then ship them. It's going to happen. That's where you're right about that. Because salaries are inevitable like that. Now, on the other hand, let's say they come back next year and Kako and Lafreniere break 55 points each, where they almost broke 40 this year. And assuming the Rangers finally take the training wheels off of them, can that actually change opinions? That could. And after all, after 2024, then the Trouba deal and the Kreider deal, their no move clauses turn into limited no trade clauses. So that's also what's important about that. You know what? I'm actually Heedle should go. Lousy at faceoffs, especially for a third liner. Yeah, but I mean, he's signed for a 4-year deal at a pretty reasonable price. See, the economics of it is what makes it simple that these guys are going to stay, because Lafreniere is not going to be paid that much. Ooh, here's a good one. We have a who says no. By the way, Mel Bester, great that Giannis is going to recover for game 2. So much for the Knicks avoiding the Bucks in the semis. Well, who knows? Because if it's a back problem, that can linger. That's no good. But we have a who says no for everybody. Matt Dumba and Matthew Boldy for Lafreniere and Lindgren. And I'm going to go with right now that it would be Minnesota that says no. Because after all, Minnesota, if Minnesota said yes, they'd be. I think the best player in the deal is Boldy right now. And I don't think the Rangers really need Dumba, but Boldy right now is the better player right now. Doesn't mean the Loft can't get there. Doesn't mean that, but he's lost to work on a couple things. But we'll see about that. Well, the hard part about getting rid of Lindy is if you got rid of Lindgren, then does that mean you re-sign Mikkola? And Lindgren is kind of the Rangers guy. I mean, I like what they've seen out of Mikkola. Again, Phil has pointed out all of his flaws before, and I think it would be interesting. All three kids, Miller, first round, big part of the rebuild, the core of the rebuild. Yes, you're right about that. They're big. And Keandre Miller and Trouba have not been as good as what they've wanted, but you know what? I mean, this season, even though Miller's been better offensively, his defense has slipped a little bit. We'll see how that goes. And Phil has talked about this at length on the Final Buzzer with John Falkowski because he gets to do some of the post game shows, which is always a great thing. And no matter what, we're going to be back tomorrow to talk about the Islanders. Here's a great question, everybody. Let's get some answers down here in the comments. Who will have more points in round one, Brock Nelson or Matt Barzal? And I'm going Brock Nelson, hands down. I actually don't even think there was a question that Anthony posed last week about Brock Nelson being the best two center in the league. And Phil's reply of, I'm not sure if Brock Nelson is the number two anymore. I think it might be Matt Barzal. And I think, you know what? You might be right. I think Nelson easily. That's what Sheffner's saying. And Where for Life is saying that too. So is the bearded baker, Mr. Rob. Sheffner is saying Schneids could be better than Lindy, but Lindy needs to stay too. Lindgren has been, and Lindy is going to get confusing for this series because I know people call him Lindy, but also there's also Lindy Ruff. I think it's going to be an interesting situation. I don't think the cap crunch is going to kill the Rangers as much as what people think. And a lot of people are saying Goudreau's the guy that goes. I don't know if you can move a guy with that many more years on that term without eating some money. And I'm not sure if they can't buy him out. I know that. D is saying Sebastian Aho will have the most. Yeah. Well, Sebastian Aho is, he's a guy I talk about all the time. We're going to be running a series called, I forgot what Anthony wanted to call it. It was like enemy players or behind enemy lines is where we have it. But who'll have more points in round one? Artemi Panarin or Jack Hughes? Jack Hughes. I'm going to say Jack Hughes, hands down. Because I think the Rangers, if they want to win this series, they're going to need more scoring across the board. If the Devils want to win this series, it's because Jack Hughes is going off. And I think both things can happen. The Rangers can win this series with more scoring. But if Panarin is outscoring Jack Hughes, I would say the Rangers are probably not having a good series. That's my intuition. You know, the great part about doing streams like this and the talk radio stuff, that sometimes if you just do it on instinct, then you can play back the video and see how wrong you are. No, well, Svechnikov being out is mentioned. They're 9-8-1 without him, and they've been outscored 49-51 in those games. So, and if you look for scoring trends in those games, Chef-Rod, there is no scoring trend. They'll shut out a team 4-0. They'll lose 5-4 the next day. It's amazing. It really is. I looked all these up when I was doing the article, A Perfect Storm, on BigAppleHockeyPodcast.com. Which, once again, everybody, make sure that you're going to go check those out. Playoff previews on BigAppleHockeyPodcast.com. I'm going to take a couple more questions. And again, once again, you guys want any of these hats, go click the link below. It takes you right to the eBay store, and then I'll get it sent out to you. We have it in this color, also with a white and a blue background. I don't have one of them on me at the moment. So Maybe I should have actually had one of those on. And of course, if you're getting seats, make sure you go to SeatGeek, use the promo code Big Apple Hockey. Hey, $20 off on an order right now. That's what you want. So, by the way, I forgot if I ever showed this to you guys, but when the Rangers had their animated view, I had a little bit of a animated version of us that I threw up there. I mean, it kind of makes us look like Disney princesses, but hopefully I can find something else that'll look a lot better and less scary. So I think I am going to start a Big Apple Hockey playoff bracket. We can all get our brackets in hopefully as soon as possible. Because that would certainly get good. I want a fitted cap. Actually, I don't have the fitted ones. They're the adjustables. I would love to get a fitted cap. I just don't have the resources yet. Working on that. Yeah. Actually, you know what? Sebastian Aho's put together a pretty good season. That's the funny part. Everybody just want to dismiss Sebastian Aho on the Islanders, which I still think the guy should change his name. Change your name. Be savvy. Why? It's my name. Because there's somebody else named Sebastian Aho. 5 goals, 8 assists, 23 points for Sebastian Aho this season. Right behind Scott Mayfield, the free agent to be. And I think Scott Mayfield is going to get a pretty good paycheck this offseason. So we have that. All right. D is saying this is the good part about having some inside information from some Carolina fans. We have another one of us, our Carolina Hurricanes contributor, Pete Mackin. I wasn't able to get to him today, but honestly, I think the Canes could call up some of the Wolves. Their season is done. Vasily, I'm not pronouncing that name right now. I'm just plays like Svech, gets step on or Stastny out. See, that's the thing. I don't know whether or not they're going to be that ballsy with that. I think he's going to stick with his veterans. Coaches love to stick with their veterans. At this time, it gets frustrating because if you don't have a scouting report and then you have a kid that gets in there, it could change everything. So one thing is clear, Sebastian Aho will advance the second round. We've had that joke already. I think State of Survival put it up, so that was always a good one. I know the Islanders are playing at 1 o'clock on Sunday, and I have a playoff game that night. My team won in overtime. The K-Stars beating the Dragons. It was actually a nice, hard-fought game, and the only thing I'm kind of disappointed was I ended up with 1 shot on goal in that game. Yikes. Can't have that. State of Survival. Death, taxes, and Aho to the second round are the only sure things in life. I might have to steal that. So I'll give you some credit. Ely is saying RB Rod Brindamore doesn't like change to a fault. That is the problem. I hope both Ahos don't advance. Well, you could hope. Wish in one hand, shit in the other. You'll see what fills up first. All right. Right now we're at 3:54. Let's go another 6 more minutes. So, how fast are the Devils? Is it me or do they skate like the wind? Yes, they do. However, speed slows down in the playoffs because clutching and grabbing does come back a little bit. Now, it's not going to be to the point of like the 90s where Mario Lemieux really hated that. It's going to be closer to, say, in the last few years. Hell, the LA Kings definitely slowed down the Rangers in 2014. That was the speed matchup. They slowed down the Blackhawks. They were always tough against the Blackhawks. So it's gonna be interesting. But the Devils are still gonna have some speed. It's just, I know the Kings were giants, but And the Rangers, not like they didn't have guys with size. I mean, everybody forgets Benoit Pouliot had scored the first goal. He wasn't a small guy in that series. And Hagelin shorthanded. Hamilton avoids getting checked in the playoffs. Canes fan. Yeah, he does. See, that's the thing. It's just, I'm not a big Dougie Hamilton guy. I've never been a big Dougie Hamilton guy. I think he's a good defenseman. I just don't know if he's that, like, guys want to say he's a Norris Trophy guy. I don't see it. But then again, I use that example with Ryan McDonough. Ryan McDonough was like on that cusp. I mean, if you did a top 10 defenseman, I'd definitely put Dougie Hamilton on that list without even looking. Did you hear about the bug going through the Boston Bruins locker room? They're going to be without a few key players. I did not hear about that. I've been working on a lot of other things, but yeah, but there's always like a flu bug that goes around hockey locker rooms. This has always been in their culture, so it's not going to be that big. Yeah, the Mark getting called up to play with the Bruins to replace one of their under the weather players. Oh, if you got me, you get a guy that's pretty good at faceoffs, but if you did that for last night, yeah, I wasn't at my best. I played like a guy that didn't play in a month. That's what I played like. So the K-Stars definitely deserve better out of that. I think Florida has a shot to steal a game or two. I got Bruins in 6. Let's see. Let's go across the staff on this one. We have Phil saying Bruins in 5. I think the big question out of that series isn't even Alex Lyon. It's can Matt Tkachuk keep it up? If Matt Tkachuk is keeping up his regular season production, that's something that would trouble the Bruins. I'm not saying the Bruins are in trouble. I'm just saying that would trouble them. 27 of you are still watching, everybody. Thank you very much. 13 likes so far. Oh, wait, my browser froze, so that's good. We're up to 19. Make sure you're hitting that like button for us because that always helps. Because little by little, we always need to keep on getting that like counter up. And after all, getting the subscribers up. We're almost up to 9,000. And thank you, everybody, for your support, because that's the reason why we're doing this. We just need to get our view numbers up after that, because sometimes, it's great to have the people that subscribe. It's also great to have the people that point out when I screw up on a prediction. So 20 likes. Hey, 21. Thank you very much, everybody. Because I didn't even have to bring out the hand of God on this one, which was, I always love this one. This is one of my favorite ones that I made. Appease the YouTube gods. All right. We are at 3:58. We're going to go another 2 more minutes, and then I'm going to start the music to get us out of here. As Anthony is already out. Am I going to see any of these games in person? I'll tell you what, if the Rangers or Islanders advance the next round, I might go see some of the games. It's going to be difficult for me this week because I have my staff dinner on Tuesday. I don't have anything planned to go down to Carolina. I just did Jersey, so I don't feel like doing Jersey again. That's one of my favorite openings for a Mark on the road, which is the Sopranos takeoff, which is great because I turned to my girlfriend. I told her all about that pitch and then kind of whispered in my own ear of, you're an idiot. You just gave yourself 4 more hours of editing to do. So, because editing is always a big factor when it comes to those. If it's Carolina, I'm definitely going to try to go to Carolina if the Rangers get Carolina. You know what? I think that's a great point too. Can Matt T keep his cool against the goon loaded Bruins? I'm not sure if the Bruins are going to care if he goons it up, but I think what he should do is just, get a little bit under their skin, so it's a distraction. But the Bruins got Brad Marchand, who's the absolute same. He's the same thing. He really is. So I don't know. I don't think he's going to be able to keep that one up. As my phone went off, who do I have? Cairo, 4 o'clock tomorrow? Oh, well, all right. I'll have to wake up and make sure on that. Apparently, I have I got to get it back out of me. So all right. Can they keep it? I guess again that's gonna be tough. All right, so I'm gonna start playing the music to get us out of here. Although it is just me, like I said, I'm gonna try to see if I can find a way to have the song available for download for you guys. It's again my cousin Phil, who used to be a Rangers sound engineer for MSG, and he actually has a picture of him with the Stanley Cup. I will share it with you guys another time, because again, the man was a great musician, and my cousin Karina taking up the mantle from him. So again, we had the poll out on should you ever groom a playoff beard. 56% has said absolutely not, and 44% said yes, go ahead and be groomed. It's going to be a tough series no matter what. I think all teams involved, Islanders versus Carolina. It would not shock me if Carolina wins tonight, because when you're the road team, you want to go in with a split. And the real question, I think, for the Islanders, who have played well since getting Horvat, their record with Horvat in the lineup, I had it up there the other day. Now I got to waste some time getting up here. Fortunately, you guys, we have 21 of you watching right now, and you've stayed with me throughout this entire time. And we had to get a video up because it was crucial. We had to make sure we got a video up for this. The New York Islanders, with Horvat in the lineup, 30 games, they're 17-9-4. That's a .633 winning percentage. That was incredible. That is incredible that they were able to get 50 points or almost 100 points above their winning percentage at the time of that. Of course, the New York Rangers, 682, and that's post All-Star break, but Tarasenko came aboard at the middle of that week. So 28-5, that's another one. Look, New York teams are playing well, and it would not shock me if it's Rangers Islanders in the second round. I picked Carolina. I'm the only one of the three of us to pick Carolina. So let's see what that is going to be. Maybe if there's an outside chance, I could actually maybe fly down to Carolina and see the Islanders on Tuesday night. I might try that. I'm going to have to explore that stuff, because also I'd like to make sure that, little things like I see my girlfriend every now and again, because that would be nice. All right. Although, you know what? This is one reason why I got to get down there. PNC, the loudest house in the NHL. All right. Let's see how it goes. So, and yeah. I know my friend Pete is saying the same thing. Go Caniacs. So this is the reason why we're expanding out to not just be the league thing. And Mel Buster did ask this question. I forgot that. Do you guys think Kraken will pull off a deep playoff run like the Supersonics 96? Actually, no, Mel. Unfortunately, they're not going to. I had this start. Sorry if you got off. I think you're going up against Colorado Avalanche team, which is just way too good, and I just don't see that one happening. And Wicked did ask, do you guys think that Romney makes it back into the lineup by game 2 or game 3? He is on the trip with them. That I do know. And I think he will make it back for 3. I think he might play in 2, but I don't know if that changes around the Islanders lineup. So, guys, once again, thank you very much, because we do these because we love doing these for all of you. And it's always, yeah. And as Dee's saying, Islander fans, remember, you're not the only ones from New York. Everyone in this area is from New York. Yeah, and it's only growing because New York loves to shove everyone out. All right. So, everybody, thanks very much for joining us today. And as the song is saying, bye-bye. It's time to go. And, tonight's going to start a wild postseason. If the Islanders win tonight, all those predictions are going to start looking mighty good. So, Carolina, tough team to beat. We'll see if that happens. If it's Rangers-Islanders in the second round, we're going to be covering every single angle of that. Guys, thank you very much for joining us once again, and we will see you soon. And, Chef Roth, thank you, because that's why we're always here.